And go. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Coffee Talk with Coach Dan and myself, Ryan, here at Precision Fitness in Hong Kong. So today's episode is a big one, and we're trying our best here, again, like with all of our episodes, to distill this down to easily bite-sized nuggets of information so you can apply it in your life or share it with those you love and hold near and dear to your heart. So today's study or research review is a really interesting one, and again, one topic that tends to come up a lot for us in our community and with a lot of our clients, and even within ourselves, and just in terms of our office talk. And so Coach Dan is going to take us through this in the research, because I took a stab at this one earlier, to be very honest, and it's a giant monster of a study, and we want to make sure that we do our best. And being that, Dan has more of a strong sports science background and being able to look at like all the data here, I think he's going to be the best person to talk you through this. Yeah. So, Dan, why don't you kick us off with this one, the specific topic, what the background was, and again, a little bit of the rationale, and then maybe I'll pick your brain a little bit.
Sure.
Cool. So what do we got today?
So the title of this kind of big, it's big. This big monster review is, does keto improve endurance performance? So before we jump into rationale and stuff, keto. I'm sure if we said it, most people have an idea, right? But basically, I mean, the simplest way to put it is just basically super high fat, super low carb. I guess that's the easiest way of putting it. I think it would be anything less than 10% of your calories come from carbohydrates.
Yeah, there's like different
50 grams is like considered like the low.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of range from there depending on, even now, there's like different types of keto, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, the idea is here is that just on a high carb diet, fat oxidation occurs at 45 to 55% of like how hard you're working, okay? And that's at low to moderate. And the idea is that, as you go through exercise, you move to more of a carbohydrate thing, and you use more carbs. And then the idea with the keto is that you continue to use fat for longer, right? And the more fat you're using, eventually you use that body source and you kind of get rid of your fat. That's with the fat loss kind of thing anyway. But we're looking at performance here, okay? So think about how well you do in your workouts. That's probably a nice, easy way of thinking about it. So the rationale, right? So how does it benefit athletic performance? So the thinking goes like this, that if you're burning more fat for energy, you'll conserve carbs and you have to reduce the amount of time or how often you need to refuel during long endurance events. So for example, if you were going for a long bike ride with your friends, or you were going for a big run on the trails of wherever you live, and you need, we're going here, we've done 2 hours in, maybe we should stop, get a peanut sandwich, whatever it is, right? The idea is you wouldn't have to do that as often, right? And even in a workout, maybe it's in a short, high intensity workout, maybe you don't need that little extra bit of fruit or whatever you're having before you work out. You're gonna be okay, you don't need these refuels, okay? And so there's the idea, there's two benefits there. You're not going to crash, when you kind of deplete your carbs, you don't hit the wall, the runner's wall, even in high intensity sessions. Like we've seen clients just like crash out totally. And there's less likelihood of GI stress. You haven't eaten before you worked out, right? So it's not in your tummy, basically, right?
You're exercising like a rock.
Exactly. This bit always makes, Limitless?
Yes.
Do you know when he takes the pill?
Yep.
This always makes me think of Limitless. Some keto advocates also say that it's helped mental clarity, enhances recovery. I always makes me think of like, it's like taking the Limitless pill.
Yeah.
That's what kind of the way you hear people describe it often.
Yeah.
There's no real scientific evidence to support any of that. That's just how people report how they feel. And if they do, that's great. Some people do, some people don't. So in terms of kind of the science, right, there was one of the big keto studies was done in 1983. Okay, that's a long time ago. And nothing was followed up until 2014. And that study showed that keto diets were good at helping endurance performance. But no one really did follow it up to 2014. So it shows us a couple of things. One, that study didn't really get taken seriously in the industry, in the support science world. And everyone's kind of like, I don't know. And then not only that, when people did follow up in 2014, everyone was getting mixed results. So some people found that, keto diets, that they did perform better. A couple of attempts found that the high carb performed better. And some was like, there's no real difference. No big deal. So it kind of gives you an idea, that study, that information, we can't really base our ideas off of it, okay? So the new stuff though, coming out in 2017, okay, is much, much better, much more accurate, okay? And what these guys found at first is that they found that the high carb diet was better for endurance performance, okay? And now it's like, how dare you, right? So keto advocates, that's how I imagine this. They were like, no, look at this, you did this wrong, this wasn't good. So Dr. Burke, who was the guy who ran the study, he went back and he made all the changes that these people were like, no, change this. He was like, yeah, okay. Went back and changed it. His results were the same. The high carb people still performed better.
Okay.
So the research confirms that keto diets burn more fat at higher exercise intensities, yes. But burning more fat may not translate into better performance. Okay? And that's because keto-adapted athletes require more oxygen at the same intensity. So say, for example, Ryan and I sitting here, this is not exactly high intensity, but imagine it is. Okay, well, for me, it might be. For you, this guy, it's not.
Same.
All right, and so I'm on a keto diet, Ryan's not. Right now, just to perform at this level, I would probably be going, trying to get that oxygen. Ryan would be more like where he is now, okay? That doesn't equate to better performance, right? It equates to, yes, I'm using more fat to get that performance, but that's not necessarily better performance, okay? And I think that's a clear point to make, because once again, think about what is my performance, how you work out, when you go for your bike rides with your friends, when you play your sports, when you're in the gym. That's your performance that you need to be thinking about.
Especially, I guess, when you think like at high intensities, like when you need to perform, like if I'm pacing at that, if I'm working at that intensity, I'm breathing harder, this and that, and you're not, like, what's going to be the outcome of that?
Well, I mean,
probably guess.
Yeah, exactly. You can probably guess, right? Like, I'm going to smash this guy eventually, right? Like, so if you're having to get through so much oxygen just to keep performing, and the guy you're against is like, I'm heavy, but I'm okay. I can keep going.
Yeah.
The person's going to outperform you. You're going to start to see your performances drop. You may even see, getting dropped from teams if you're competitive, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. So performance, that's the key, right?
Yeah.
Like for performance,
Yeah. So in terms of like what you take away, there's no universally correct answer here. Some studies, remember that old study showed it did work. The follow-ups to that old study kind of showed like some did, some didn't. The new stuff shows that high carb is better than low. There's no universal answer. The question is that it's gonna really depend on you. There are definitely some high-level endurance athletes that do really well on keto diets.
Yeah.
That is definitely confirmed.
Sure.
It's a smaller amount of athletes, but for sure, some athletes do successful in it. So if you are someone who's experimented with keto and you think it works great for you and you see your performance is getting better, great, like that's cool. But if you're experimenting with keto and you find yourself hitting a wall, crashing out, your performance is burning, you might want to consider moving off of it and towards a more traditional diet of more carbohydrates, proteins, things like that, okay?
So that brings up my question. So what if a client comes to you, like if a new client comes in, walks into the door today, and they're like, hey, I want to try keto. I've heard about it, over dinner with my friends last night, and they seem to be getting good results from it, and my goal is to lose weight, my goal is to lose fat, but I also want to perform well on a half marathon or do a Spartan race. What would be your approach if you talk about experimenting? How would you sort of guide them as the new client?
I'd be like, no.
Okay.
No,
all right, we're done.
Get out.
Yeah.
I would never, especially here at PF, we never really discourage, if someone wants to try it, cool. You can try it and we'll help you out and we'll make sure things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
So if someone comes wants to do a Spartan, they want to do that, but they're also looking right, so they want to try keto, their friend's getting great results.
Maybe they want to improve their time on Spartan.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think the key thing is data, right? You need to be aware of what's going on because, it's very hard when you're in the middle of a workout and you start tanking or whatever it is, and then you go away later. You're getting those feel-good endorphins from the workout. You might not be aware of it at the time. You might start, just tracking really simple stuff. Does training feel easier or does it feel harder? Do you notice your time's getting better or getting worse? How are you sleeping? Is your sleep getting better or is your sleep getting worse? Are you enjoying your diet? Because some people really like keto diets. Some people really like them, and I really like high-fat foods as well. So, but some people
who doesn't like bacon? Yeah,
Exactly.
Bingo. That's a good one. We should put that. Watch
Exactly.
this if you like
If
bacon.
you don't like bacon, you would just turn it off.
Yeah.
No, we're kidding. We love you all. Yes.
So I've lost it. We talked about bacon. So if you're enjoying the keto diet, great. If you feel deprived, if you feel like, oh man, this sucks, I can't eat this. Once again, that's just good data, right? And then how are you feeling mentally, emotionally, socially? If you're feeling a little bit down about things and you feel like you can't socialize with your friends because you can't eat these things and you're not sleeping well, well, that data together would tell me that, okay, keto is probably not the best for this client.
Right.
However, if the client came in and like, I love the keto, I love going out, I'm finding it easy to order foods, like I'm actually finding I can go out more with my friends, I'll be like, okay, maybe for this client, that's okay.
Yeah.
So the key with when a client would come to me or when people may be choosing a home, I would say is get some data around. Don't just make a decision out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like collect some data and then make a decision based on what you've seen.
Be your own little scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Two more questions for you. I know we didn't cover it, but you know, how long does it actually say that what's the average time it takes to actually for a person to become keto sort of adapted, or where they're using this fat for fuel? And the second question, you know, just for those people out there who are trying to shift body composition, they're trying to lose some weight just to be a little bit healthier, what might be the like precaution or like the careful considerations that they need to take if they are going to experiment with keto, specifically around stress? If you live in a stressful city or you're in a stressful job, what might that do to specific things like cortisol? Like just top of your mind, what comes to mind?
So keto, it really depends on how strict you're being with keto. I think I think the quickest would be like 7 days.
Yep.
Right. And then obviously if you were like keto, I'm keto, really good with doing it until Friday, and then you had like pizza or like a cider or whatever it is, you're gonna reset the clock. So it could take you 14 or even 21 days if you keep doing that, right? So basically the more you follow the diet, the quicker you'll be there.
Yes.
So, but generally 7 days, I would
say. General advice, I would say.
With any diet, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then in terms of stress, you know, and the cortisol levels going up. So, you know, cortisol's primary role is to metabolize energy, to raise blood sugar, right? So cortisol is the fight or flight. So basically I need to go kill something or I need to run away. To do that, I need energy. What that does is it then tells you like, oh, release energy, use the sugars, the release, so the liver starts sending sugar around, carbohydrates out. That's its first thing it will do. And then of course, if you're in keto, that's like this it's almost like butting heads. You know, it's like my body is telling me like I need to release this sugar, this glycogen that I store to get moving, but I'm actually doing it this way. And it's kind of like they're talking like they're singing different songs at each other, and your body won't figure out what am I doing, what am I listening to. And generally we then see like this stagnation, nothing happens. Like people just kind of like, oh, I haven't lost anything, I haven't gained it. Actually, you know what, probably people might actually gain.
That's true.
If anything, because cortisol will raise insulin, which will then affect how well you nutrition partition. And if we kind of go down that rabbit hole maybe another time. But then what you'd probably find is because of these two talking heads going at each other, they're probably not going to see results. Hopefully they stay the same, but you might actually see you gain some weight because of what's going on. And then I think also maybe
stress.
Exactly. Especially with stress, like, and then if you go keto and then you stop sleeping and then you stop, like we talked about earlier, you can't hang out with your friends, your stress goes up even more. It's going to get even worse. It's just going to battle even more against each other. I think we have to do we have to talk about blood work as well maybe?
Maybe you're talking about stress, what things we can measure, to look at whether this thing is working well for us. Blood work, I guess.
So I think get some blood work done. If you've had concerns with your blood work in the past, you're considering it, definitely get it done before. And then once you think you're keto adapted, 7 days if you've been good, maybe a little bit longer, get it done again, to get it done regularly to make sure nothing's going off, because we don't want that happening.
If I can add one thing, actually, another good thing that we commonly see is that, if you're going to a keto style diet or any sort of diet for that matter, it doesn't matter, just keto, usually there's going to be a template, sort of a program you're going to follow that's going to be a template of the same sort of foods you're going to eat all the time. So for example, if I just do the typical old bodybuilder era diet of chicken, broccoli, and eggs, and that's all I ever eat, I can actually develop a deficiency in certain vitamins and minerals. And the same could be said about the keto diet or a vegetarian diet, etc. Is that if I'm just sticking to a certain meal template and I'm excluding a lot of other foods that may have essential vitamins and minerals, you may manifest that in your symptoms. You may manifest that in your performance, your energy, cognition, etc., etc., etc. So that's where I think where Dan is talking about getting the blood work done, after a certain period of time might be beneficial, just to see what data comes up.
100%. That's a really good point, especially with almost any diet, actually. Right?
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to just maybe just one big key takeaway for everybody there at home?
I guess the big key takeaway is there's no right answer. Keto benefits some people, and it doesn't benefit others, to figure out what, if it does or does not for you. If you want to try it, and then collect data. Like, don't just assume it will work for everyone.
Right. Excellent. Well, thanks, Dan. We'll be back next week for our next coffee talk with all of you guys, and maybe we'll jump into another keto style research review down the road. But if you liked it, let us know in the comments, or at least let one of us know here at PF, and we'll keep these coming. Cool. All right. Have a good one, folks.